Yesterday marked 80 years since neighbors in one southwest Iowa community received devastating news. Their family members would not return home from World War II. 3 News Now anchor Zach Williamson visited Red Oak to better understand that tragic day.
This is Mission Service, sponsored by Barry Law.
Red Oak resident Lynn Adams has 91 years of stories to tell.
Everything's got an interesting story. You got time to hear it?
He's been able to tell those stories at the restored Burlington Northern Depot.
Amtrak always goes by twice a day, but it's 3 hours late, each time.
Red Oak's train depot, originally built in 1903, hasn't been operating as one for quite some time. In fact, if it wasn't for Lynn, his late wife, and a group of volunteers who fought to keep the historic depot, it wouldn't be there or be in the condition it's in.
The state recognized this as an outstanding restoration.
Part of that restoration has been turning it into a World War II museum. When it comes to military service, Red Oak has always answered the call, fighting for their country in every engagement since the Civil War. Lynn served in the Korean War and grew up during World War II.
Pearl Harbor was 10 days before my 10th birthday, so I remember.
He remembers what it was like in the community, constant scrap drives for guns and weapons, and mandatory blackouts every night over the fear of a German air raid. His father was one of the air raid wardens.
I remember going around and one house was all lit up, and we pounded on the door, nothing happened. And then some old man about my age running naked to the house, He couldn't get to the light switch.
They were actually safe, but their family members, serving in the 168th Regiment, known as Iowa's finest, fighting in North Africa in February of 1943, were not.
Partway up on the way to Tunisia, our boys they were divided. Some were under French command, some under British command, some under ours. So things were confused. They hadn't had a lot of training. They didn't have a lot of equipment.
They were overwhelmed and ambushed. Villisca, Iowa's Company F, led by Commander Robert Moore, were able to find a way out during the night.
When it gets dark, you lay down your rifles. We're going to get in a long column, and we're going to march right down to the Germans, and they'll think we're prisoners of war. And we'll go right through them. They're rushing this way. And he did. He took 480 men and saved their lives.
Red Oak's Company M wasn't as fortunate.
Our guys most of them spent the rest of the time in prisoner of war camps.
In March, the news that Red Oak natives were missing in action began to arrive.
When the telegrams, they started to say that we got some telegrams, some news about your boys. So people started gathering there waiting for the telegrams to come in. I knew the boy who delivered the telegrams. They said, here, take this. And it says they'd see him coming, they'd pull the shades. They wouldn't go to the door because they knew it was going to be bad news.
The most tragic day coming on March 6th. More than 100 telegrams arrived. One woman's nightmare became reality. Two
sons and a son-in-law, and all telegrams came on the same day.
According to the town, Red Oak lost more of its sons per capita than any other community in the United States during the war. It caught the entire country's attention. The government wanted to honor the town's sacrifice.
A few years into the war, they said, we should do something nice to this little town. So we're going to name a victory ship, Red Oak Victory.
The Red Oak Victory was commissioned in 1944 as a U.S. Navy vessel, serving as an auxiliary cargo ship for nearly 25 years. It now resides as a museum in Richmond, California, the home of the Kaiser Shipyard, where it and 746 other ships were built.
But the only ship made in Kaiser Shipyard that's still afloat is the Red Oak Victory.
The sacrifices made by those from this little town will never be forgotten, remembered every day at Red Oak's historic Fountain Square Park and by its residents.
Talk about how much pride Red Oak has in the military.
Oh yeah, that's just our history, yeah.
Awesome piece, Zach. Learn more about that history by visiting the restored Burlington Northern Depot and World War II Museum. A link will be with this story at 3newsnow.com. And if there's a person or topic you think we should highlight for Mission Service, tell us. Email mission.service@3newsnow.com.